at 4:30. And Ms. Morlock, could you do a roll call, please?
Yes, ma'am. Member Lehman,
Present.
Member Friedrich,
Here, present.
Member Barnett,
Present, sorry.
that's right, Member Woolrab,
Here.
Member Erickson,
Here.
Member Thompson,
Present.
and Chairman Metzger.
Present. Very good. We have all members present. We have a quorum. We can proceed. We have approval for the minutes for March 3rd of 2021. Can I have a motion to put this on the floor? I have Member Friedrich made the motion with a second by co-chair or Vice Chair Thompson. And are there any additions, corrections, or comments that need to be made to the meeting minutes? Seeing none, roll call to accept the meeting minutes. Ms. Morlock, please.
Member Woolrab,
Yes.
Member Barnett,
Yes.
Member Friedrich,
Yes.
Member Lehman,
Yes.
Member Thompson,
Yes.
Member Erickson,
Yes.
Chairman Metzger.
Yes. That passes. We're going to 3 appearances of the members of the public or county employees. Do we have any public or employees wanting to present anything or have conversation?
Chairman Metzger, this is Administrator Rodriguez, and we do not have any speakers this evening.
Very good. We'll proceed then to departmental matters. We have 4A, Becky McNeil, 4A, 1A, request approval of a resolution authorizing county board chairman to surrender tax sales certificates of purchase for mobile home ID GE 00-0011 and mobile home ID MB 00-0192, found on page 3 to 5 in our packet. May I have a motion to put that on the floor? I have a motion by Member Erickson and a second by Member Thompson. And Ms. McNeil, do you want to present this to us? Thank you.
This is a standard item. By now, you should be familiar with them. This is a surrender, which means that the property owner came forth at a later date after the redemption period expired and tendered the amount that was due on these 2 mobile homes that were sold. So we consider that to be a surrender. This will allow the trustee to surrender the certificate, cancel the sale, and the property owner will be able to retain their home.
Very good. Are there any questions for Ms. McNeil? I think she did a fine job of explaining our situation. All right. Seeing no questions or comments, Ms. Morlock, please take the roll or take a vote.
Member Woolrab,
Yes.
Member Barnett,
Yes.
Member Friedrich,
Yes.
Member Lehman,
Yes.
Member Thompson,
Yes. Hey, can somebody adjust?
Member
Becky?
Erickson,
Becky, adjust your.
I'm sorry, Member Erickson,
Yes.
Chairman Metzger.
Yes. Is that better, Vice Chair Thompson? Very good. Thank you. All right, we are moving on to 4A1B, request approval of mail services, master services agreement with Mail Communications Group. That's on page 6 through 14. And may I have a motion to put that on the floor? I have a motion by Member Barnett and a second by Member Friedrich. And Ms. McNeil, would you please impart us with the information we need?
This is a renewal. It's basically an update for the final year that incorporates a change in the postage rate. This company, we've used them for several years now. They do a very, very fine job, but we just need to have a renewal on file. This is the final year of the third-year agreement, and we will move forward in the future, work with the state's attorneys, the civil lawyers to assist us in deciding how to proceed in the future. There's a lot of technology that is involved with the printing and the mailing of our tax bills. It's not as easy as it used to be. And so we really need to look at how often we want to go out and bid this job. But anyway, that's for next year. This is just to finish up the third year.
Very good. Are there any questions? Seeing none, we'll take a vote. Ms. Morlock, please.
Member Woolrab,
Yes.
Member Barnett,
Yes.
Member Friedrich,
Yes.
Member Lehman,
Yes.
Member Thompson,
Yes.
Member Erickson,
Yes.
Chairman Metzger.
Yes. That's unanimous, so it passes. We'll move on to 4A1C, accept and place on file the county treasurer's monthly financial reports. And we received those in an email. And may I have a motion to put this on the floor? A motion by Member Woolrab and a second by Member Lehman. And Ms. McNeil, please.
So the first report you have, kind of know where to go to look at the highlights for March of 2021 over March of 2020, up by 82,000. That's pretty good. Year to date, we are 174,000 ahead of where we were a year ago. And in looking at budget right now, we are about 312,000 to the better on the budget numbers. So very pleased with how these numbers are coming in. The shared sales tax, you can see the summary there. Unfortunately, that's obviously reflective of the economy for this tax, down 53,598 during the first 3 months. So, and then you can see we don't have any property tax, so we're getting ready to roll those out probably in the next month, waiting for extension right now to get completed. And then we'll start that process. It's hard to believe it's right around the corner. And then moving on down to the motor fuel tax. Again, you can see the additional revenue that we're getting as a result of the renewal fund on the county motor fuel and township motor fuel. Obviously, those payments are almost double, 853,000 on county, and it's only going to be one on town. So those are the highlights of that report. Any questions? Moving forward to the investment report, really no change on rates. I had an interesting question sent to me the other day from one of our external auditors, because we're going through external audit right now. And they were asking why our interest revenue was down significantly compared to 2019. And I mean, literally, I mean, when we were looking at rates over 2% back in 2019, 2020, we were at 0.25% 1 year later. And I mean, right now we're less than 0.25%. So there's just really not a lot to say, except that we're watching our balances, making sure that our funds are collateralized, doing the best we can. So unfortunately, with those CDs that were coming due, with pretty nice rates, are not getting renewed very well. We had one that we actually did renew, and that was 0.75 during the month of March. This one that's coming due in April, it's on there right now, 1.51. They've given me a rate of 0.5, and that's incredible. I mean, this is a local bank out in the community, Anchor State Bank. When I called him today, I could just hear it in his voice, but he gave us 0.5, and he shouldn't have, I mean, really. But he did that because he knows it's important to keep this money there in Anchor and keep those accounts open for his residents. So anyway, total invested balance, $65,261,000. In your Blue Cross Blue Shield report, first quarter of the year, expenses are down by $434,502. That looks a little rosier than it actually is, because we did get that $200,000 credit in January. So otherwise we would, only be looking at a gain of about $234,000. But just watching that, and I think we're doing pretty good right now. $1,329,000. So. And then moving on to the nursing home report. The nursing home numbers are being presented through the month of February. Their total revenue year to date, $923,017. Their expenses, $932,706. So, for the first 2 months, they have a deficit of $9,689. I know that there's some MedLife expenses that are not recorded yet. Those are going to be pretty large when they hit. So I just want to let you know that number that you see right now is still going to be adjusted. The outstanding AR, $3,480,000, up by $49,000 since the beginning of the year. Cash, $743,533. Down by $532,000 from the beginning of the year, and equity $3,560,173, down by $9,689. Any questions?
All right, any questions? No? All right, so let's vote to place these on file. Ms. Morlock, please.
Member Woolrad,
Yes.
Member Barnett,
Yes.
Member Friedrich,
Yes.
Member Lehman,
Yes.
Member Thompson,
Yes.
Member Erickson,
Yes.
Chairman Metzger.
Yes. Passes. We'll move on. We have no other items, No other items, Ms. McNeil? We're good? All right, very good. We'll move on to 4B. That's Kathy Michael, County Clerk. And I think you all understand why she wouldn't be here today. The election yesterday, so they've got a lot of things, but she did put her report in. Did anybody have any questions on the report that we can then need to take to her?
Catherine, Member Metzger, I'm sorry. Ms. Michael is actually on the phone.
Oh, she is. Oh,
I
my
see her
gosh.
now.
Perfect.
And
Hi, Ms. Michael.
Hi, can you hear me?
We certainly can. Thank you. Golly, I did not expect you to be here. So we see your reports. You don't have any action items, but if you want to impart any wisdom, we would be happy to listen.
Sadly, I seldom have wisdom, but I'll share how the election went pretty well, knock on wood. And no reports of voter fraud or voter suppression, no voter lines, and that's the good news. The sad news is that, it's a low turnout in these, so while we like to brag, we wish we'd see a 70% turnout, but such is life on these consolidated elections. But it was higher than usual, which was good to see as well, especially in normal, of course, with all those contested races. The vote totals, will remind you, are unofficial, and we still have about 400 vote by mail ballots out that could conceivably come back and be counted. We got 70 back today that met the postmark, but of course the remaining about 400 would have to be postmarked April 6th. We have Democratic and Republican judges watching over those and observing so that they are counted properly. One thing I just want to mention very briefly is our tired old touchscreens have almost seen their day. So we will be putting in a very large request for 2022 for all new election equipment. Of course, we'll bid that out and hope for some grant money to help with that, but I kind of wanted to give you a heads up on that. One other thing that my staff has asked me to request is for an armed security guard in the building. We've asked that for a couple of years now, and I won't go into details. If you want them, you can talk to me later, but we had a couple of incidences this time, and we really feel it's important for our staff. So we'll be asking for that as well. And that's it.
An armed security guard during the evening, as your people are bringing things in? Is that what you're talking about? I'm sorry.
No, we have that all the time when the sheriff very nicely volunteers to send people over. We're asking for the entire time now for the building. We used to have the security person there, and of course they weren't armed, and I assume it was for budget cuts, but it seems like we are spending some money on a lot of things in our building. So we would like administration to consider that expense as well for the safety of our staff.
Okay,
And that's it. Thanks.
very good. Any questions for Ms. Michael? Yes, Member Barnett?
Not so much a question, just a thank you to Clerk Michael and her staff. They always do a good job on the elections, and just appreciate all the hard work that they put in and the many hours that they spent getting those results tabulated for us and getting everything ready.
Thank you very much. Our staff really appreciates that. One thing maybe I'll just mention as well is regarding the loading up of the vote by mail and early voting at the last, and we loaded those up at the very last, and it was 2,000 votes. We did send out a press release to all the media ahead of time so that they would be aware of it. We sent it to the chairman of the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, and the Libertarian Party, so that they could help get the word out as well. That suggested that no one have any parties before all the votes were in. And I know perhaps a lot of people didn't see that alert, so that was quite a changing of vote totals right at the end of 2000. I would prefer that our vendor not do that next time and do it first, but not to make excuses, but our vendor that we've worked with for over a decade almost died of COVID. So we had a new vendor, and he asked if he could do that at the end, and I said yes. So thank you.
Okay, well, I would agree with Member Barnett. I think things seem to flow very well, and we do appreciate all that you do in preparation and then in during and in follow-up. So please give our regards to your staff. Thank you very much. Marshall Thompson, Animal Control. She has no items to be presented or no information. She does have her general report. I'm assuming that Ms. Thompson, you are online. Oh, there you are. Hi.
Oh, hi.
With a dog and everything. So
Everything's going really well, so I'll take questions if you have any from my general reports.
does anyone have any questions, or do anyone? No questions? Oh my goodness, you're gonna get off the hook this time. No news?
Everything's going great. We're starting the spring season activity, so very appreciative of all the hard work that staff is doing here and ready.
You're ready for wild animal season, right?
Right, it's goose and duck season and baby bunny season, so we're triaging some of those complaints, and pretty soon we'll be looking at some of the other seasonal activity of wildlife and doing some public education statements out there. So you might be seeing some different stuff about wildlife to help mitigate some of the conflict between people and wildlife.
Very good. Well, thank you very much. The more information we have, the easier, or hopefully it'll reduce some of your challenges. So thank you very much. Thank you for joining us this evening. We'll move on to 4D, which is Michelle Anderson, our county auditor, and Ms. Anderson is on the line too. So we're happy to hear from her. And do you have any, we don't have any actions or any information, but do you want to share anything that's going on? Apparently the audit is taking place currently.
The audit is in full swing. So just responding to questions that they have, and I have started building the CAFR and working on the new GASB statements that we have to implement this year. So pretty much same as always. This is my typical April, and it sounds a little less exciting than Marshall's. But we're working on that, and I do expect one of the GASB, new GASB statements requires us to analyze and look at the fiduciary funds again. And so I do anticipate some of those needing to be reclassified, but it won't have a major impact. It's not, anything like the general fund. It's the small funds in the very back that nobody's probably ever even made it that far back. So, but as soon as they are changed, I will be able to let you guys know for sure, and I will point it out when the CAFR is presented.
Very good. Thank you for being on top of that. We appreciate that. Any questions for Ms. Anderson? Very good. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We'll move on to,
Have a nice night.
oh, go right ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I just said thank you. Have a nice evening, everyone.
Well, thank you. We'll move on to 4E, Camille Rodriguez, and she has, looks like 2 items, action items. We have raffle license for the Illinois Association of Chief of Police for Special Olympics. And can we put these together potentially?
They seem similar enough.
Okay, and then we also have E1B, and that's a raffle license, also Class C for the American Legion. And that would be pages 29 through 40. Can I have it looks like Member Barnett is going to make the motion.
Madam Chairwoman, I would move E1, A, and B together, if I may.
Very good, thank you. And do we need a second on that? And I need a second. Vice Chair Thompson is a second. So we'll move ahead. Thank you very much for keeping me honest there, Member Barnett. And so I do need them. So we're putting those together. And so are there any questions? Yes, Ms. Lehman.
I don't know if it would be considered a Scrivener's error or so much outdated language, but if you view pages 32, 34, and 39, there's a section on what's called the Fidelity Bond page that kicks off, and it says, know all men by these presents. And I'd like to perhaps make a suggestion that we can update the language so that it is more gender inclusive. I don't necessarily think that currently that we're directly speaking to all those who identify in the male gender, and perhaps we could switch that out for persons, people, something that's a little bit more representative of our population.
And you want that through, I'm assuming throughout these moving forward, is that the suggestion?
Yeah, absolutely. Moving forward, or if we can notate it on anything for today. Certainly don't want to hold up any progress, but would like to make sure that moving forward, we have the proper language that's representative.
Member Metzger, can I speak to that for just a second?
Yes.
Member Lehman, I wanted to let you know that we are trying to put all of this online. So these are older forms that we just have not gone back per Camille and the discussion with Amy Baker, working with getting everything through Seamless Docs online. So we did not go back and update these forms because we're hoping that in the next few months we will get all the bugs worked out for being actually able to pay for raffle licenses and everything online. And so I'm sorry, yes, these are outdated. If you'll also notice, I think it still says like 20-1, like for like 2019 instead of 2021 and things like that. So I apologize, but yes, these are still older forms, but we're trying to update everything and get it online.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for the update on that. And I wish you all the luck in moving everything over online. That certainly has to be a big undertaking.
That would definitely help the process with raffle licenses, yes.
All right. Notation then, are we good with Member Lehman's?
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Any other questions or suggestions? All right. Can we go ahead and we'll take a vote on this, Ms. Morlock?
Thank you. Member Woolrap,
Yes.
Member Barnett,
Yes.
Member Friedrich,
Yes.
Member Lehman,
Yes.
Member Thompson,
Yes.
Member Erickson,
Yes.
Chairman Metzger.
Yes. Motion passes, and other information?
If I may, Chairman Metzger,
Please
I wanted to update the membership on the status of the forgivable loan program. Mr. Patrick Hoban is actually going to be visiting Executive Committee next week to give a quarterly update on the Economic Development Council in general. But I felt that since I've already asked him to come on Monday to Exec, I would carry the water this evening for him in updating you on the forgivable loans. The good news is, so far, 17 loans have been approved. Receipts are coming in, and those are for equipment, technology, and for real estate upgrades to accommodate any changes that businesses have had to make during the pandemic, as you know, and that was your direction. If in fact, one of the recipients of that forgivable loan does not submit receipts that comport, then they do have 2 years to pay it back, and they do sign a contract as such. And just, anecdotally, you should know that every loan recipient gets one of those great big checks and a visit from some of the board members, and it's been so well received and very valuable in the community. So I bring that good news to you, only to also say that I suppose we will have to have a discussion at some point. It's not on the agenda tonight, but we'll have to have a discussion at some point as to how long you'll want to continue that portion of, your amended microloan, small business loan program. So it's just something to think about. I think we know that things are moving along with vaccinations and those sorts of things in our community, but we're also still seeing community spread. And so with that said, I know that it isn't the right time to stop this program, but I also know that the updates that we provide you, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring that up. In all, great news, and I'd be happy to try to answer any questions. Otherwise, also I could, carry those to Mr. Homan for you.
Any questions or comments? All right, very
Okay.
good.
That's all I have, Chairman.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Move on to 5, which is the recommended payment of bills and transfers. We do have a transfer for page 41, and it is from Fund 001, Department 003, from $772 from letterhead printed forms to elected official salaries. So may I have a motion to approve this transfer? It looks like Member Friedrich has the motion and a second by Member Erickson. And any questions? Seeing none, roll call please, Ms. Morlock.
Member Woolrab,
Yes.
Member Barnett,
Yes.
Member Friedrich,
Yes.
Member Lehman,
Yes.
Member Thompson,
Yes.
Member Erickson,
Yes.
Chairman Metzger.
Yes. Motion passes. We'll move on to payment of bills. We have a total of $2,154, $2,154,633.27. May I have a motion to pay the bills? They were all, I have a note from our auditor saying that the bills have been certified and comply to the Illinois or the McLean County Board ordinances, resolutions, and policies. So may I have a motion, please? Member Erickson made the motion, and we can get a second. Vice Chair Thompson. And questions? And let's have a vote for that.
Member Woolrab,
Yes.
Member Barnett,
Yes.
Member Friedrich,
Yes.
Member Lehman,
Yes.
Member Thompson,
Yes.
Member Erickson,
Yes.
Chairman Metzger.
Yes. Motion passes. Any other business or communications? Yes, Member Woolrab.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have maybe it's an observation, perhaps it's a question, I'm not sure. Yesterday I spoke to Member Erickson about this, so he mentioned this in his meeting. But I was concerned about the agenda item that he had on there, and you'll see why I'm bringing this up in Finance Committee in a moment, if you just let me explain. The item was written as tort immunity, but it also ended up, it was a communication from our Assistant State's Attorney about, with some explanation to the committee about what that was, but it also involved substantial amount of information about qualified immunity in that. And I think that was under the guise of these legislation that is or may not be or may never be enacted in Springfield at this point, or recently was. Some of it recently was, but some of it may never be enacted. So he and I talked about, whether that was appropriate to use committee time for an issue that's really dealt with in Springfield. But the reason I bring it up here is because the impact I see it having, at least the most direct impact I could see legislation like that having, if it in fact had any impact at all on the county, would be concerning our insurance. And it is the finance committee responsibility to oversee our risk management program. So I guess I'm asking if this is such an issue that we're spending committee time on it and it's been discussed more than once in other committees, is this appropriate to bring in our insurance agent and have them address it with us as a risk management issue? Because we are not addressing it as a potential finance, risk management, insurance issue. And so I don't know why it's being addressed, quite frankly, but it's certainly, is that something that's appropriate to do here?
If it is of concern, and I certainly understand your, the connection that you've made, accurately, I believe, because we struggled with what, a 200% increase in liability insurance this past year. And so insurance is definitely a part of this committee. I'm not sure if you believe or if another member believes that we should address that potential through having a information provided to us by our risk management provider. We can certainly make that happen, I'm sure, if that's what people would like, or if a member feels that's important to do.
And I'll add that if it turns out that it's an issue, an imminent issue, and it is going to affect our insurance greatly, that's something we want to be aware of moving into budget season.
So at the current time, you're not seeing a need, is what I'm gathering. Is that accurate?
Well, I'm not the one that brought the issue forward, so I'm not seeing a need, but I'm wondering if those who are concerned about it could speak to that.
Are you wanting me to address it as the chairman of the Justice Committee? I'm not trying to figure out what you want me to do here.
Well,
Yes, or
I
I didn't.
think so, yes, because you
Well-
were the one brought it forward to Injustice, and
Okay.
Mr. Spanos spent no time talking about the insurance coverage that members would have if in fact the county were sued, and how that would work for individual board members. He did, I think, mention very briefly, fleetingly about coverage for employees, but nothing about county board members, whether our D&O would cover county board members under either of these, and so forth. So I really see it as, if we're going to bring these things up, let's look at it from the real perspective of county board.
Okay, I'll go back to the beginning of what happened. I mean, it was initially, I think it's no secret that the sheriff of McLean County had sent out a proposed ordinance. I believe that had been passed in Jefferson County. Now, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was a proposed ordinance that had been passed in Jefferson County. And as I recall, that ordinance specifically stated that if the Illinois legislature or the Illinois state government were to end qualified immunity, that the county would pick up the cost of making sure that the officer was covered in the event that he would be sued. It started out from there, and that was presented to the assistant state's attorney. And the assistant state's attorney said he had issues with the way that ordinance was drafted. And in particular, although I think he should speak to this on his own, the issue was, were we going to pick up the costs if the Illinois legislature were to drop qualified immunity? It was decided then that the Jefferson County ordinance would not be used because we didn't think that had any applicability. So we dropped the Jefferson County ordinance about addressing specific costs, and we made it a generic resolution in regards to whether the Illinois state legislature should drop or not drop qualified immunity. So Member Walrab, I think what you would be addressing would be if there were going to be additional costs, that would come through finance. But if it were just a generic resolution saying, should the Illinois legislature drop or not drop qualified immunity, that is something that the Justice Committee could handle and has been dealing with. Mr. Spanos last night did address the definition of qualified immunity. If someone had wanted to go back and look at that, it's towards the end of the meeting, and where the Illinois legislature was at in regards to passing or not passing qualified immunity. As I recall the conversation, qualified immunity, the bill that did pass out of the Illinois General Assembly did a task force to discuss qualified immunity, and the language in the statute specifically states whether to keep it or not keep it. And that was the purpose of the task force. In the meantime, it appears that one committee in the Illinois House has already passed a bill to drop qualified immunity. So I don't want to be misquoted here that I might be wrong on that process. I think the best person to talk to would be Mr. Spanos, but that's the way I recall the conversation going last night. And so that's why it's not at finance, because the resolution before finance speak to the issue of spending or not spending. It merely speaks to the issue of should the Illinois legislature keep or not keep qualified immunity. Does that answer your question?
Well, I guess, as you and I, as I mentioned to you on the phone, that is an item, and I'll just express this here, is that it seems to me that belongs in our legislative committee, but so be it, you have it in justice. But I would say that if we were looking at a serious issue from the standpoint of the county board, that we ought to be looking at the potential cost to our risk, how this affects our risk management. I mean, is that not really the bottom line issue to this?
Well, I think that a committee could address in particular, just like the Legislative Affairs Committee does address. I've often been told that, well, why do we care if one of our committee addresses this? Because they don't care what we say in Springfield. And my response to that has always been, then why do we have the Legislative Affairs Committee to begin with? If they don't care, if they don't care what we've got to say, then why do we address anything that's going on in Springfield through our Legislative Affairs Committee to begin with? But I don't think that there's any question that the Justice Committee certainly does have jurisdiction to bring a generic resolution saying that the county preferred that the Illinois legislature not drop qualified immunity. I think our member will respectfully, when you would get into the issue of cost, I think that would be an issue for finance. But that is not what the resolution the Justice Committee is specifically addressing. So that would be my response to that. So.
Whether Ms. Thompson would take care of this visiting cat for me. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you. I think as this moves on, if it does become an issue of, related to additional costs, then certainly I would think that because Mr. Spanos is also our risk management liaison, he would bring it to us. I will make sure I have a conversation with him that he knows that that's what we would like to have done should that situation occur. All right. Is that acceptable, Member Woolrab?
Well, to have a serious conversation about it, and I respect Mr. Spanos as an attorney, but I think the real source of that information ought to come from our risk management people.
And it would. He's just our liaison, our risk management liaison with those individuals. So that would be the reason I would be going to him, not as a state's attorney getting legal advice. He's acting as our risk management liaison. So that's the reason we would be going through Mr. Spanos. Okay?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Anything else this evening? All right, if not, then I think we can adjourn. Thank you very much for your time, and we will see you all some other later, I'm sure. And good luck out in the field, member or Vice Chair Thompson and Member Friedrich. Be careful.